Hi everyone, I'm Rajinder Hans from tvsarawak.com. Kuching City Parade to be an annual affair is our first prime news for today. The Kuching City Parade will be held annually due to its great tourism potential. Tourism Minister Dato' Amar Abang Johari Tun Openg was speaking at the Kuching Day Parade 2014 prize presentation ceremony at MBKS Auditorium on Sunday. He has requested Kuching South City Council (MBKS) and Kuching North City Commission (DBKU) to give him 1 year notice in order for him to instruct Sarawak Tourism Board (STB) to work with them on the parade. According to him, ample notice would also give him time to include it in the budget. He also said it can become part of our tourism calendar. We want to time it near the Sarawak Regatta. Dato' Amar Abang Johari said that next year's regatta would run for about 2 weeks, with the Dragon Boat category maturing into its own event. This year's Dragon Boat race could attract 500 paddlers from 11 countries such as Macau, Hong Kong, Canada and Australia. Also present in Kuching City Day Parade 2014 prize presentation ceremony were Abang Johari's wife, Datin Amar Jumaani Tuanku Bujang, MBKS Mayor Dato' James Chan, DBKU Dato' Bandar Dato' Abang Abdul Wahab Abang Julai, and Kuching City Day Parade 2014 Organising Chairman Muhammad Taufik Abdul Ghani. Chief Minister Datuk Patinggi Tan Sri Adnan Satim receiving a courtesy call from the Ambassador from Argentina, Maria Isabel Rendon, at his office on the 5th floor of the State Legislative Assembly Complex, Putrajaya in Kuching yesterday. Her Excellency Rendon is in the state to attend the 51st Malaysia Day celebration in Miri. In order to encourage realty development in the state, the tenure of land lease will be maintained as the government after conversion or subdivision. When officiating at the official launching of Metro City Square, Metro City Matang New Township, and signing ceremony between CKH Realty and Boulevard Group of Companies at Imperial Hotel here yesterday, CM Adnan said no change. This is to encourage realty development. Also present were CKH Realty Chairman and Managing Director Chong Kia Hui, Shin Yang, and the Boulevard Group of Companies Chairman and Chief Executive Officer Tan Sri Ling Cheong Ho, Assistant Infrastructure Development Minister Dato' Daud Abdul Rahman, State Secretary Tan Sri Dato' Amar Morshidi Ghani, and Dato' Bandar of Kuching North Dato' Abang Wahab Abang Julai. According to Adnan, lease period of a land with perpetuity title will still have a lease of 999 years and a 99-year lease will remain unchanged. He has been considering the idea of arbitration for valuation of title condition AVTC for subdivision of land to maintain the leasehold period and have a more liberal policy on land matters. He also mentioned that the government was currently negotiating with SESCO to reduce the amount of capital contribution. Today, the national-level celebration of 51st Malaysia Day is being held in Miri City Fan Recreation Park, which is attended by Prime Minister Datuk Seri Najib Tun Razak and federal as well as state ministers. More than 20,000 people are taking part in the festivities. Sarawak United People's Party SUPP Secretary General Datuk Sebastian Ting said there are many things that Sarawak can contribute towards Malaysia. Even before Malaysia was formed, Sarawak was already the model of racial and religious harmony. In Sarawak, we can even see Muslims and Christians living under the same roof. He also said, in Sarawak, children of all races go to government and mission schools. Chinese schools have a big population of Bumiputra children. That is why it is so important that the Sarawak model of harmony be used as the national model for the whole country to emulate. In this grand ceremony, the Miri City Council and various partners conducted a Malaysia Day countdown in the city centre, staged with laser shows, talent contests, songs and musicals to entertain people. And now we are moving to the regional news. Datuk Seri Najib Tun Razak said he believed that the planned Goods and Service Tax (GST) is the right tax at the right time for Malaysia. He said the GST will be introduced on April 1, 2015, would help drive the country forward. He also said Malaysia must not take its growth and development for granted if it wanted to achieve developed nation status by 2020. The implementation of GST in Malaysia at a rate of 6% was announced by Najib during Budget 2014. Najib, in his speech yesterday, also reminded businesses to register for GST ahead of the December 31st deadline. Later, Deputy Finance Minister Dato' Ahmad Maslan confirmed that 35,998 businesses had already registered for GST to date. The government is hoping to generate 50 million ringgit in sales via the biggest online sale in the country and the first government-led cyber sale in the world, the #MyCyberSale. The initiative, which offers deals of up to 90% in discounts for products including flight tickets and clothing, is the latest effort by the Multimedia Development Corporation (MDEC) and is endorsed by the Communication and Multimedia Ministry and related agencies. MDEC Chief Operating Officer Ng Wan Peng said MDEC aimed to make Malaysia a hub for e-commerce and attract local and foreign sellers to do their business here. MDEC Chief Executive Officer Datuk Yasmin Mahmud said 70% of small and medium-sized enterprises in Malaysia did not have an online presence, and this should change. She said Malaysia had potential to expand its e-commerce industry as it had a mobile phone penetration of 140%, which is relatively higher than its Southeast Asian neighbours. In this cyber sale, online shoppers will be able to choose from over 225,000 deals by 4,500 merchants. Among the retailers taking part are Groupon, AirAsia, Zalora, Lazada, Rakuten and Malaysia Airlines. Singapore and neighbouring Malaysia are smothered almost every year by smog from forest fires in Indonesia from June to September. Air pollution in Singapore rose to unhealthy levels. A reading between 101 to 200 is considered unhealthy, according to Singapore's National Environmental Agency. The Pollutant Standards Index (PSI) reached a high of 111 at 7 a.m. yesterday before reducing to 80 a few hours later. People with existing heart or respiratory ailments advised to reduce physical exertion and outdoor activity. The NEA said in a statement that the current smog is most likely due to the hotspots in South Sumatra detected over the past 3 to 4 days. Given the continued dry weather in southern Sumatra, we can expect the hotspots to persist and the 24-hour PSI for Singapore to fluctuate between the high end of the moderate range and the low end of the unhealthy range for the rest of the day. In Bangladesh, the current legal age for marriage is 18 for women and 21 for men. Child marriage is punishable by up to 3 months in jail, but the law is poorly enforced. On Monday, Bangladesh approved a law setting a 2-year jail term for anyone involved in marrying a girl aged under 18 in a bid to cut the country's notoriously high child marriage rate. The Cabinet Secretary Musharraf Hossain Buyan said anyone found responsible for child marriage, including the groom, the marriage registrar or the guardians, would be jailed for up to 2 years. The new law is introduced days after an UN figures showed 2/3 of Bangladeshi girls marry before they reach adulthood. The bill is expected to be passed during the current session of the Parliament. Girls and women will not be punished for marrying an underaged man. Heading to international news. United States warplanes carried out their first airstrike on the Islamic State near Baghdad, as world diplomats pledged on Monday to support Iraq in its fight against the militants. The US early last month began airstrikes against IS positions in northern Iraq, but Monday's announcement that the campaign had targeted the jihadists near the Iraqi capital marks an escalation in the scope of the mission. It comes less than a week after US President Barack Obama, in a primetime television address to the nation, ordered a relentless war against the IS, including airstrikes in Syria and expanded operations in Iraq to destroy the marauding jihadist army. US military forces continued to attack ISIL terrorists in Iraq, employing attack and fighter aircraft to conduct 2 airstrikes on Sunday and Monday in support of Iraqi security forces near Sinjar and southwest of Baghdad. US Central Command said in a statement, "The airstrike southwest of Baghdad was the first strike taken as part of our expanded efforts beyond protecting our own people and humanitarian missions to hit ISIL targets as Iraqi forces go on offense," as outlined in the president's speech last Wednesday. The strikes destroyed 6 IS vehicles near Sinjar and an IS fighting position southwest of Baghdad that had been firing on Iraqi forces. They bring the number of US airstrikes across Iraq to 162. Ukraine is set to ratify a disputed European Union agreement and offer limited self-rule to parts of the separatist East as it moves to turn the page on the bloodiest chapter of its post-Soviet history. Lawmakers in the Ukrainian and European parliaments are scheduled to sign the 1,200-page political and economic association agreement during a live video hookup that begins on Tuesday at 10:00 GMT. But the historic occasion has been muted by the two sides' decision to bow to Russian pressure and delay until 2016 applying the free trade rules that pulled Ukraine out of a rival union being built by the Kremlin. The rejection of the same deal by Kremlin-backed President Viktor Yanukovych in November triggered the bloody chain of events that led to his February ouster of Russia's subsequent seizure of Ukraine's Crimea Peninsula. The defiant decision by Kyiv's new pro-Western leaders to still strike the EU deal saw Moscow cut off its neighbor's supply of Russian gas and allegedly orchestrated a separatist revolt in the Russian-speaking East that has now claimed more than 2,700 lives. Russia's denials of involvement have not spared it from waves of punishing Western sanctions that have left President Vladimir Putin more isolated and acting less predictably than at any stage of his dominant 15-year reign. But a European-mediated truce Kyiv and Moscow clinched on September 5th has offered the first significant glimmer of hope that the 5-month crisis may at last be abating and allowing East-West tensions to mend. After a ruinous war, Gaza is rushing back to a veneer of normalcy at astonishing speed. Street cafes and beaches are packed with people until late at night. Families crowd the few public parks. Wedding halls are booked solid. Gazans are endured 50 days of devastating Israeli bombardment are now eager to enjoy some life. Far from a celebration, however, Gazans themselves acknowledge the revelry is only to thinly mask trauma and widespread despair. Many complain that none of the gains they hoped for from the war have been realized. Almost none express any optimism for change in the misery in the tiny, densely populated Mediterranean coastal strip, which is suffocating under 7 years of blockade by Israel and Egypt and is under the iron rule of the Hamas militant group. Cafes on the streets or on Gaza's Mediterranean beaches are a main venue for nightlife, since under Hamas there are no cinemas or theatres. In the 3 weeks since fighting ended, coffee houses have thronged with men, women and families. Commercial streets are choked with shoppers. Last week, authorities banned street parties, saying it was acting out of respect for the families of the dead. That put an end to bachelor celebrations traditionally held in the streets ahead of weddings, but not other forms of nightlife. And now moving on to the sports news. Shanghai Darters Singapore thumped home and away Fit Flight in a lopsided encounter to clinch the team title at the recently concluded Malaysian Open Darts Championship. On Sunday, Shanghai Darters, anchored by the on-form Bowie Parfan, gave their opponents no chance when they sealed the victory after just 3 legs of a supposedly 5-leg final to take home 12,000 ringgit. Malaysia's participation in the 3-day event held at a leading hotel in Klang came to an end when Team Malaysia Eagles fell in the semi-finals to Shanghai Darters. Roger Federer secured Switzerland's place in the final of the Davis Cup for the first time since 1992 by comfortably beating Italy's Fabio Fognini in Geneva on Sunday. Roared on by a capacity crowd in the Palexpo Arena, Federer dismantled world number 17 Fognini 6-2, 6-3, 7-6 in just under 2 hours to give the Swiss an unassailable 3-1 lead. Italy's Andrea Seppi beat Michael Lemmer 6-4, 1-6, 6-4 in the fifth rubber, but Switzerland, who lost to the United States in their only other Davis Cup final appearance, progressed 3-2 and will play France in the November final. The French beat holders Czech Republic at Roland Garros. Federer gave the Swiss the first point on Friday by easing past Simone Bolelli before Stanislas Wawrinka doubled their advantage with a straight sets victory over Fognini. But Fognini and Bolelli combined brilliantly in Saturday's doubles match to beat Wawrinka and Marco Chiudinelli in 5 sets and put the pressure back on the Swiss. Having been rested for the doubles match, a refreshed Federer broke Fognini in the 6th game to take a 4-2 lead before snatching another break to claim the first set. Federer, who has now won all 5 of his Davis Cup singles rubbers this year, continued to trouble the Italian with his precision hitting and broke Fognini in the 8th game of the second set to take control of the match. Fognini rallied in the 3rd set and took Federer to a tie-break, but the 17 times Grand Slam champion held his nerve, claiming it 7-4 to reach the first Davis Cup final of his illustrious career. The final will be played in France from November 21st to 23rd. Billy Horschel took the limelight from world number 1 Rory McIlroy to win the biggest title of his career at the Tour Championship on Sunday, along with FedEx Cup honours and an eye-opening $10 million bonus. Tied for the lead overnight with Northern Irishman McIlroy in the PGA Tour's season-ending playoff event, American Horschel held his nerve to triumph by 3 shots, clinching his 3rd career victory on the US circuit and 2nd in 2 weeks. Helped by a clutch par-saving putt from 30 feet on the 16th hole, the in-form Horschel signed off with a 2-under par 68 on a damp day at East Lake Golf Club for an 11-under total of 269. McIlroy, seeking his 4th PGA Tour win of the year, fell out of contention with a double at the 6th and 3 consecutive bogeys from the 9th before closing with a 71, tying for 2nd with American Jim Furyk. The 27-year-old American ended his season with a spectacular flourish, having tied for 2nd at the Deutsche Bank Championship earlier this month before winning last week's BMW Championship outside Denver. That's a wrap for the news today. We'll be back again tomorrow. I'm Rajinder Hans from tvsarawak.com. Have a great day ahead.